Hi guys, so anyone that knows me will know that I've been very excited for the BT12 Beelzemon X-Antibody, and the other thing I've been interested in is the Chaosdramon X-Antibody. So this is going to be my Beelzemon X-Antibody deck list for BT12. Still very early stages, obviously it's just been released, we've just picked up the cards. This will be very close to what I'm going to be playing at any tournaments coming up. So yeah, we'll head into the deck list and you can see what I'm playing. So yeah, just going to start off with a bit of flexing for Beelzemon. Anyone that knows me in real life, I'm a massive Beelzemon fan. This is my absolute favourite deck. I've been collecting Max Rare to Beelzemon forever. It's the Usagi Draws Beelzemon binder. I've also got the deck box. Where's the camera? There we go. Oh, that's the way around. Yeah, so big fan of sort of the aesthetic of all the accessories and whatnot. I am getting a custom made mat done by King Kai mats, so really excited for that. I'll be able to show that off once it's done. So start off with the deck list. Going to start off with 4 Pagamon. I'll show these in the middle. I'll show the whole deck at the end, so anyone that just wants to have a look, they can just skip to the end. So 4 Pagamon, I definitely think right now this is the way to go. I feel the way you play the deck is that you ramp up as quickly as you can to 20 card in trash and then stop dead. I feel like if you just turbo the whole game, you deck out and that's it. So for me, I want to get to 20 and then stop. There's a lot of ways to manipulate how many you have in trash. Things like your rivals barrages you have to be careful with. You need to know when and when not to use it. So yeah, I think early game Pagamon is definitely better than the Yamon, so that's why I chose to play that. Onto the level 3s, so we've got 1 BT6 Impmon, 2 Impmon X-Antibody, 4 of the EX2 Impmon, best artwork by the way. We've got 4 of the starter deck ST14 Impmon, and then 4 of the BT2 Impmon. So I'll go through a bit of reasoning. So to start off with, this is an absolute 4 of. It's the best one. Once you've got to 20, this is the thing that warps, and also the inheritable is very strong for getting rid of floodgates. This is an absolute mandatory 4 of. I'll die in the hill. I don't think anyone's arguing that though. This one, again 4 of. This is the thing that gets you mills. It also adds your Iron Makos and Beelzemons. So yeah, I think those two are your absolute must-have 4s. And sort of this is where the variants can come in. So I think for BT2 Impmon, this is because, again, it's back to that early game. I want to see this in my opening hand. I want to go first. Second turn, I want to be swinging. I want to be dying, and I want to be milling 5. I feel that always gives me the best setup to succeed later on in the game. So I want to play 4. After sort of 1 or 2 of these have resolved, I don't care about them. If I'm reviving any, I'm reviving the ST14 Impmon. Late game, I always try and, if I'm putting 1 of these out, I want to put 2 out because people will target that down. And if you put 2 out, it just becomes a lot more difficult to get rid of 2 of them. And then these just stay in the trash. If I draw this later on in the game, that's getting evolved on top of and raising. I don't want to give my opponent any opportunity to really mill me out with this, which is sort of the downside of the Pagamon because you get the mill 2 on delete. But this is why we stop at 20. We don't give our opponents an opportunity to deck us out if possible. The 1 BT6, this is just good for sometimes you have an option card in hand, such as the 7-fill cluster that you don't want in hand, or sometimes you're just a bit chalked up. Sometimes you need to get a Beelzemon from hand into trash. So having, a specific Beelzemon into trash. So say you have the ST14 one in hand and you want that in trash to warp into, this is just a good way of swapping them around. I think it's a 1-of, it's fine, it is recurable. Well, everything's recurable in the deck, apart from options. So, yeah. And then lastly, we have 2 of the Impmon X-Antibody. I think this isn't that great. To be honest, I think trashing an option is only good when it's the 7-fill cluster, or if you're already choked up on them. But I think it's very useful. It's a good way of getting things out of the trash. The way attacking is useful. It has its place. I just don't see it as more than a 2 of really. That's it for the 3-ofs. It's just all Impmons. I've picked up the promo Impmons, but I don't think they belong in this deck. The other consideration at level 3s, let me just grab my binder. So we've got the Calamon, you're playing, oh god that's really bright. You've got the Calamon from EX2, you're playing all Impmon, so I think that definitely has its place. And you've got things like the Memory Blocker Gazimon, very strong against certain decks. I just don't think this is quite the format for it. But those are sort of the only other two considerations I'd have right now. Then onto the level 4s, I have gone for 4 Wizardmon and 4 Wizardmon X-Antibody, and that's all. Oh, sorry, this is slightly out of order, I'll just reorder that while I talk. So this is, for me, the only one you actually need to play. I don't think which one's necessary anymore. This, 4 of, when it's trashed from deck, you gain a memory. That on its own is good enough. The Inheritable is also really good. It's when attacking, you can reveal a purple card, stack it at the top of your deck. This means that when you go for something like the BT10 Beelzemon or the EX2 Beelzemon, you can stack your deck and mill the exact card that you need. That's sort of the early weaknesses of the deck, where that you just couldn't manipulate your hand. The I Mako obviously helps with that from ST14, but yeah, that's a 4 of. And then the X-Antibody, I think, I mean, it's got the same inheritable as the Impmon X-Antibody, which is good when attacking mill 2. That's good enough. Evolves 0 from Wizardmon. If it evolves on top of Wizardmon or something with the X-Antibody option, it becomes a blocker. That's very useful, especially when you evolve into a Beelzemon that has the on-delete effect. But also just being able to trash 2 for like your 2 cost is good. This, I feel, replaces the Witchmon. It mills 1 less, but I feel it has more utility. So those are the only level 4s I'm playing. Now on to the 5s. I've gone for 1 BT10 Beelzemon, 3 ST14 Beelzemon, and 1 of the X-Antibody. So go into a little bit of reasoning. So this one, I'm playing the X-Antibody option. So if I mill it, I want to get it back. That's pretty much why I've gone for this. Otherwise, it probably would have been 4 and 1 or 3 and 2 maybe. The when Digivolving, trash 3, or if it's on top of a Beelzemon or something with X-Antibody, you can delete a level 4 lore. It does come up. I don't think deleting low levels is a huge issue of the deck, but it does let you grab the X-Antibody option back, and it can be another mill chance. I wouldn't play it any more than 1 really. For this one, there are times when you don't want to mill. And this is sort of what I was trying to explain to people. People were saying, like, you know, you want to play like just this one in the Skull Satamon, but there are times you don't want to mill at your level 5 level. There was, you know, early on I was definitely playing like 4 of this, 2 Skull Satamon, and then I was finding myself with 5s in hand that I couldn't evolve because I decked myself out or get myself too close and I couldn't fulfill combo. Once you get to 20, there is 0 need to keep milling. So this one I feel fulfills that. And it has the permanent on deletion rather than this, which only lasts until the end of your opponent's turn. So I do think it has its place. And you can afford to play a bunch of one-offs, partly because of the Impmon, partly because of the Rivals Barrage. So then you've got the 3 Beelzemon. This is the absolute best one, I will not dispute that. This one is fantastic. When Digivolving, mill 3. And when Digivolving, gains on deletion. If there are 10 or more cards in trash, play a Beelzemon. And it has that until the end of your opponent's turn. So if you go on top of the blocker Wizardmon with this, and then you block with it, you still get the effect. It's very good. A lot of the time I'll just find myself evolving into this and swinging for the sake of it. If it dies, great, I get a Beelzemon. If it doesn't die, cool, I've still got a level 5, I can evolve into Beelzemon. Then on to the 6s. So I have gone for 4 of the X2 Beelzemon, 2 of the ST14 Beelzemon, and 2 of the X-Antibody. So I don't really want to play any more than this because there's times where I'll just brick on too many high levels. But you need to get Beelzemon in trash. There have been a few games where I've lost because I've just not seen a Beelzemon somehow. For things like the Beelzemons or for the ST14 Impmon. This one is by far the best to mill. You get an Impmon back, even evolving into it. If I evolve into this and then I have an X-Antibody to slam on top of that, oh well, I'm I'm still happy. Like, this is just by far like the most sort of. It's always good. I'm never unhappy to see this. I can stack it with Mako or Wizardmon. If I mill it, I'm getting value. If I'm evolving, I'm getting value. It's just fantastic. The ST14 Beelzemon, I want to play 4 because I've got 4 purple ones, just for flexing sake. But I don't think I really need more than 2. This is sort of the strongest on its own when the effect goes off. This is the one that I'm always warping into from trash if I have the ST14. This is the one I want to evolve into most of the time. It's just incredibly strong. Pretty much pays for itself most of the time. And trashing 4 is... Oh, I'm never going to complain about trashing 4. The security attack +1 is also very good, especially when you have the blast mode set up. But this is the new man. This is the whole reason the deck is incredible right now. So for those that haven't seen the alt art of the X-Antibody, that's terrible quality. But yeah, this is the new alt art. So this is when digivolving, you can digivolve 1 from a Beelzemon, and when digivolving, if it has Beelzemon or X-Antibody, it's the Digivolution card. Trash top card of your opponent's security stack for every 10 cards in trash. Typically you're doing 2 to 3 of this, 2 to 3 trashing. Then if this is going on top of this one, it's also taking 2 security. So that's their entire security stack, pretty much gone. And on deletion, play an Impmon. So cool, I'm just going to go for the Warp Impmon, get back into Beelzemon. Incredibly strong card. It's honestly ridiculous. And then the 1 blast mode, it's sort of nice to have. If I don't see it though, I'm not all that bothered. Incredibly strong for finishing out games if it goes on top of the ST14, or if it has a ST14 stack that has been procced, you're taking an additional 2 security. I do play the memory setter in Mako, so I can do the when digivolving effect for essentially 3, which is when digivolving unsuspended. If you have 20 or more in trash, gain 3 memory. So this just helps you go for an extra swing. Incredibly good for finishing out games. Between that and X-Antibody, like, you have so much aggro power. It's just then dependent on the RNG of the mills. Onto the options, I'm going for 3 Rivals Barrage, 4 Deathslinger, 1 X-Antibody, and 2 7th Full Cluster. So Deathslinger, 4 of, when it's milled, gain a memory, and delete one of your opponent's level 4 for every 10 cards in trash, increase level by 1 for every 10 cards in trash, increase level by 1. So for its main effect, this is just an incredibly strong card. Broken. If the deck gets hit at all, I feel it's going to be this. It's insane. If you don't play 4 Deathslingers, I'm coming for you. Next, we'll go on to the 1 X-Antibody. I'm playing the 1. I'm still not that sure about it. If I was going to cut anything in the deck, it would be this and the Balmon X-Antibody. Not entirely sure what I'd put in for it now, but being able to swing with the ST14 Evolve X-Antibody into the X-Antibody's trash security, take security security, it seems like it's very good. I've not had to come up yet. But the theory is there. The theory is there. Next, 2 7th Full Cluster. I know some people are playing 1, but these can both proc at the same time. So if something has protection, you can just use both of them, pop the thing twice, and then... this is sort of to get around things like Chaos Dramon or Machine Dramon, if you can try and just chip away at the protection. Things like War Greymon, Black War Greymon, where they have that one protection from the Greymon or X-Antibody or the other Greymon X-Antibody. You're just trying to chip away at them. This is just 2 free deletes. The main effect is questionable. But yeah, it's still a very good card. Easy trash for things like the Impmon X-Antibody. Because once they're in there, they're sort of set up for licking. Then we've got the 3 Rivals Barrage. I was trying 4, but I just kept bricking on them. Absolutely insane card when you mill it. Playing it from hand feels underwhelming, considering most of the time you can do essentially the same thing with the Deathslinger, which costs 3 less, but it's still very good for niche situations. There are times that I'll just sit there and go bang, pop your guy, and just keep them off of something. And I don't really care how much memory I'm giving them, because they're still, if your opponent's kind of bricked and have to just hard play things. Then on to the Tamers. I'm playing 2 of the SD14 Iron Mako and 1 in the Memory Fixer. I still think this is good. This plus the Blast Mode just for closing out games. Having a Memory Fixer is always good. This plus like 1 or 2 Death Slingers / Wizardmons can be like great for just advancing your game state very quickly in one turn. But this is just, oh my god, incredible. So on play, real top 4, add anything with Evil, Wizard, or Demon Lord, so that's your entire deck. And then your turn, when one of your Digimon evolves into a purple Digimon, which is your entire deck, suspend this, put a card on top of the deck, and gain a memory. So you do this afterwards, after the draw for evolution, so you can, you know, evolve into one of your millers, and then just go suspend, stack something from hand like an EX2 Impmon, or you can put something like the Rivals Barrage or the EX2 Beelzemon, and mill it and get value. So memory plus value is incredible. So I'll just lay out the deck here while I summarise. So for me, the deck is incredibly strong if it goes off. The biggest thing I have to say from watching other people play the deck and from my sort of early days playing the deck is knowing when to put the brakes on. Like I keep trying to say, it's like once you hit 20, you do not need to do anything. Can I? No, apparently you're not allowed to see the cards. It's a bit better. Yeah, so a lot of the time people just want to go all gas all the time with this, which I feel is incorrect. I feel like you want to go all gas until you hit 20, and then you can pull the brakes, and then it's just a case of setting up success for 1 or 2 turns later down the line. That usually involves setting up a couple of the Warp Impmons, and you just need to sort of bide your time until you have that kill turn. Honourable mentions for the deck would be things like Mist Memory Boost, which I think is incredibly strong. I just don't think it's necessary, almost. Oh, look at that, fits nicely. We also have the 4 Tama, but there we go. Yeah, so things like Mist Memory Boost and Darkness Wave, both honourable mentions, good ways to proc your own effects. I just don't think it's overall necessary. I think you've got a lot in engine, which helps mill yourself to the required number, and it's all searchable off of things like the Iron Mako, and it's recoverable off of the Rivals Barrage and the X-Antibody. There's also not a lot of room. If I could play a 100 card deck for this, I would in a heartbeat, and then I could just play all gas all the time. But there's not, there's a limit, and I feel this is as close to optimized as I can get. I would love to have discussions in comments. People are sick to the back teeth of hearing me talk about Beelzemon, our Lord and Saviour. He will be coming a lot in the next coming format, and I think people need to be prepared for it. So feel free to ask me questions. I love talking about it. I love discussing deck lists. I love testing the deck lists. If you have any comments, please let me know. I will engage with anyone who is willing to. Please like and subscribe, all that good stuff. This, I feel, is probably going to be largely similar to most deck lists you're going to see. I think the options are probably where it's going to vary most. And yeah, thank you for watching, and tune in for my upcoming profiles.
Shh, not a zombie channel.